Harold Ford is a former Democratic congressman. He then went on to work for Merrill Lynch, which was acquired by Bank of America. He now is a shill for Bank of America. He goes on programs like Meet the Press and tells us what a wonderful idea it is to do, for example, a tax repatriation holiday. That is a program that would take a 35% corporate tax rate and reduce it to about 5%, as they did in 2004. At the time, the corporations had promised us, oh, don't worry, we will create so many jobs. In fact, there was tens of thousands of layoffs. They said, oh, don't worry, this won't go to our executives, it'll go towards hiring people. It went to the executives. And now, what does Harold Ford do? He comes back around and says, we need another tax repatriation holiday. And the one thing that you must do as a Democrat is ignore Occupy Wall Street. Here he goes.
The posture and the language and the rhetoric has been just too overheated. And to Mr. Welch's point, you can't incentivize the type of things that they incentivize in this bill. Two, you have huge balance sheets on the part of corporate America, meaning they're making money. You got to incentivize them, as the president has asked, to use that money to stimulate job creation. There's a way to do it if you have some certainty around regulations and taxes. And two, you got 1.2, maybe 1.3 trillion sitting overseas. Allow that money to come back.
With Occupy Wall Street, how does he take that?
He's the president, Andrew. He's the president. We Democrats can't criticize Republicans for catering to the Tea Party and not say to our Democratic Party, you've got to look beyond Occupy is willing to do what's in the best for the country.
You've got to look beyond Occupy. Look beyond it. No. You've got to help the people who brought you here. My banking friends. He's now, of course, an executive vice chairman, makes a tremendous amount of money at those same banks. And so he goes on television to say, oh, please, of course Occupy Wall Street people should be ignored. And instead, my banking friends and myself, we should get tremendous tax benefits. And he says that President Obama is not being pro-business enough. When is it ever enough? Now, let me tell you about the disastrous tax repatriation idea that he wants to push. $1 trillion is held offshore right now by those top corporations that have those offshore subsidiaries that are for tax havens. And, of course, Harold Ford and his friends want to repatriate that money at 5% rather than 35% rate. Well, what would that do? That would save them $40 to $80 billion, according to estimates, from their money that they would get from their foreign subsidiaries. Now, that would mean that it would cost us $40 to $80 billion that they would have to make up in either spending cuts to the middle class or to extra taxes in the middle class, as a lot of the Republican proposals are now, is to increase taxes on the middle class and the poor. Do you know that of the 27 million businesses in America, only 10,000 have foreign subsidiaries? You know what that means? That means when they say that they're in favor of small business, whether it's Republicans or so-called Democrats like Harold Ford, they don't mean it at all. Small businesses don't have offshore subsidiaries in the Cayman Islands. It's those 10,000 top companies that have all the top lawyers and the lobbyists that go to buy those politicians. They're the ones with the offshore accounts. And in 2004, when this tax holiday was offered last time, only 843 of them took advantage. That means those top 843 firms are the ones that took all the money and got all of the advantages from this tax holiday. Well, when you combined all the money that they repatriated the last time, it was $362 billion. So that's a lot of advantage to gain by buying some politicians. In fact, more than 50% of the benefit in 2004 went to just 15 companies. So forget the 843, we're down to 15 now that's got more than half the benefits, and you're going to be shocked to find out that those 15 are the most politically connected. I couldn't have seen that coming. For example, the top 5 were Pfizer, Merck, Hewlett-Packard, Johnson & Johnson, and IBM. And they retrieved $88 billion. That was a quarter of the entire amount. If you notice, Pfizer and Merck, big pharmaceutical companies, Johnson & Johnson does something very similar as well. So 3 out of the top 5, Big Pharma. Big Pharma, one of the top 3 contributors to politicians on Capitol Hill. They have tremendous lobbying power. And look at that. They got to save, they were among the companies that saved $88 billion. So, well worth it. In fact, I'm going to show you exactly how worth it. Damika Dharmapala is one of the authors of the National Bureau of Economic Research study. They did that study on the 2004 holiday. When asked, hey, did it actually help what they said it was going to help, which is unemployment, they said, quote, It did not significantly increase employment or research and development. So where did it go instead? Well, it went straight into the executives' pockets. According to that law, they were not supposed to do stock buybacks. Stock buybacks go to the shareholders, but most importantly, they increase the stock price, which is what the executives get compensated based on. Shockingly enough, they ignored that, and they did it anyway. It was brazen. In fact, 60 to 92% of the money that they brought back on shore was not used to hire new people. It was used to pay back stockholders and eventually go to the top executives. In fact, I have a perfect example of that. Pfizer, which repatriated the most amount of money at $37 billion, laid off thousands of employees in the very next year, but they awarded their top 5 executives with $30 million in shares for just 5 guys. Gee, I wonder who pushed for it and why they pushed for it. Those executives made a decision that spending money on lobbyists would be a great idea. Did it create more employment? No, who cares? Did it give them $30 million extra? You betcha. Now, let me show you what an excellent investment it is to buy one of our crooked politicians. $1 in lobbying, according to this analysis, gave back $220 in tax benefits. On this issue alone, that is a rate of return of 22,000% on your investment. I challenge you to find a better investment anywhere in the world. Buying a U.S. politician is the best bang for your buck. And those huge corporations did it before in 2004 when they asked for that tax holiday and they got it and they cashed in on it. And they're asking for it again. And right now we've got Democrats like Harold Ford, who is now a banking executive at Bank of America, pushing for it again. We've got senators like Kay Hagan, Democrat of North Carolina, co-sponsoring legislation. She's got many other Democrats in the Senate and in the House. Overall, nearly 30 Democrats have already signed on. And of course, the entire Republican Party, which is basically a wholly owned subsidiary of these multinational corporations, are pushing for this. And I guarantee you it passes. There are some Democrats fighting back. President Obama is undecided yet. Yeah. Look, I'm not a Monday morning quarterback. I'm the guy who analyzes this for a living, and I tell you ahead of time what's going to happen. President Obama was talking a big game about, how he's in favor of Occupy Wall Street and empathizes with it and understands it, and in fact will run his campaign to make sure that Wall Street does not get these kind of advantages. We'll give Wall Street these exact advantages.